What was Sean Pelton, he was the drummer for SNL for like 20 years or something like that.
Dude, and he always wore like super cool outfits, right?
Yes, it
Like
with
hats, especially. I think I remember his hats.
he always had it like a delivery boy hat or something
Yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then like kind of like if I didn't have a shirt on underneath, but like a dress shirt with his like he had flair, right? Like
Yes,
he had a bunch of
yes.
stuff. Yeah.
What are those called, man? Those shirts though,
I know what.
they like bell bottom out
Yeah,
almost and then close up at the end. Yeah,
dude,
he definitely had a style.
that's what I remember about that guy. Because like some of those dudes in drum magazine. Oh, finish your point. Sorry.
No, you're good. That was it. That was it. I
Okay.
wasn't making one. I was just, that rang a bell and made
That
me
that
think of
reminded
him.
you of him?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like one of those names. This will be a good question for you. Like, what's one of those names that you always kind of heard about as a kid, and or maybe not even as a kid, not recently, but I'm saying because we're old now. So like you've played drums as long as I have, if not longer. So it's like we have 30 years kind of in the game, more or less, right? As far as playing
Yeah.
and like being a student and trying to do it, like and enjoying it, being like our lives to that extent, as far as an outlet artistically. But it's like, what's one of those drummers where like you always heard their name, and then like once you finally like did your own deep dig diving of him, like who kind of turned into your guy after like not your first influence, maybe not your second, possibly your second, because depending on how long it lasts for influences. But I'm talking like your third guy that was maybe more like a name you always heard, and then like, or it doesn't even have to be a ranking. Like, who's just a guy you heard about that you never checked out, and then when you did, you were like, "Oh my God, this drummer is like, oh," and then like fangirl, if
Man,
anybody.
that's so hard. Yeah, I've got so many that it's hard to answer that honestly.
Yeah, you
Probably
don't have to choose one. Just choose one.
probably
Cherry pick one.
Thomas Bridgeton. Thomas
Oh,
Bridgeton. Like yeah, I had when I got that Modern Drummer DVD that he was on, I was like didn't even see him on the cover, but he was on it.
mm-hmm.
Um I think I can't remember who else was on that one, but
That's '08,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
Because
but I
he was
can't
in Mars Volta by then. Because
he was
that's
a
when I
big
found about Pridgeon was Volta,
yeah. Um
which Bedlam
Definitely
and
him
Goliath is like the best drum recording of like people our age, I think.
probably. Yeah, well,
Dude,
he's insane. I mean and that's what I'm talking about. Like I saw him and I even saw some clips of him, but it was almost like my mind couldn't comprehend what I was seeing.
yeah.
I didn't know what I was looking at. And then I kept hearing his name and had already watched that the drummers from that DVD so much that it was already digested. I'd already kind of crapped it out. You know, it was already done. I'd
Like you took
already
what you were going to use, and I got my
and that
information from it, and I'm good.
exactly. And then that DVD sat in the top dresser drawer for a while. And then I think I was probably searching for new um um inspiration and kept hearing his name and went back and watched those videos. And by then I had heard other guys play that it helped bridge that gap. And once I finally saw that and realized what I was seeing, my mind was completely blown just because of the power. I mean, because to me, he's playing a lot of finesse, like chops that most guys would have to use finesse to execute, but he's like powering through them. And
Yes.
I could not,
He's
I just like couldn't believe how much power he generated from his body. And I've never met him. I don't know how big he is, but he plays like he's Chris Coleman's size. He just plays like
yeah.
how is he generating so much power
Mm-hmm.
with the stick?
Yeah.
Um, just blew my mind for real. Um, and
Dude, he
I'll
is like he's like, yeah, to piggyback that when I found that guy out, because he's up there for me like that as far as like, oh my God, like what? Because I had a couple friends when I first went to college, like right out of high school. So I graduated '05 of high school. But I had like a lot of roommates that were like from like Cali and like Minnesota, and just like one kid was like from Korea. So like growing up around a bunch of like people in Eastern Idaho, like I knew like what the music was. I mean, this is before streaming and like you could download stuff, but like you basically found out your music from like homies or like the radio for, you know. But I say all that to say my roommates were like on some different stuff, man. Like the Cali kids especially. But they turned me on to Mars Volta and like I didn't get it. Like we listened to it like all the time and like the album that we listen to all the time is actually probably if the Pridgeon album didn't exist, it would be my favorite one of theirs. Deloused in the Comatorium, the first one.
Was that Theodore? Was that John
Yeah, that's
Theodore?
John Theodore. Yeah, because
Yeah,
he's on the
yeah,
first three, and he's
yeah,
like the perfect drummer for that band.
yeah.
And then like Pridgeon played the perfect drum performance for that band, though,
Mhm,
as like a drummer.
mhm.
It's like, dude, like
Agreed.
because I didn't get it, but then like a couple years later when Bedlam came out, like dude, I listened to that crap and then saw him on David Letterman rip the beginning of Wax Simulacra, however you say that name, Simulacra. How
I don't know.
I can't say it.
I pronounced Thomas's name wrong.
I
So
just know it's track 4 on Bedlaming Goliath. That's all I
yeah,
know. But he rips that intro like, dude, on live TV, like gospel chop and hardcore. And I'd heard like Tony Royster and Aaron Spears. I'd heard the genre, but like it never like appealed to me. But since he bridged the gap of like the rock, psychedelic rock world, like through the
yeah,
Volta, that's how I like got it. And then through
yeah,
repetition of hearing it, because those guys you have to listen to, in my opinion, like to really understand it. It's
yeah,
like a front to back experience. It's like a movie. Like you don't just like, oh, I'm gonna go listen to this song. It's like, no, man. You need to have like, at least for me, like I consume music that way. I always have. Maybe it's our generation where we still had like physical things to grab and attach ourselves to because like reading the liner notes was like always so stoked, man. And like all their endorsements and like the lyrics and like who they thanked and where they tracked it and like all that stuff mattered as a little kid, man.
oh,
And the
of course.
excitement of like pulling it out of getting the cellophane off the plastic and getting it out and like putting it in the CD player and like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, yeah, here we go.
It was nostalgic.
I've been waiting, man. Yeah. And like every Tuesday, that's what was dope about though. Like once I start buying all my own, like and start mowing lawns and crap, like for my grandpa especially, he would always like kick me, whatever, 5, $10 to mow his yard. So like every week or every couple weeks, I'd have enough money to like go scoop up some CDs, and it would be like every Tuesday, man. It was like, oh, dude, gold mine. This band's putting out an album. This band's putting out an album. Like, so it was like a rush of music in that sense. But it was all like stuff that I was very familiar with. So that's what I'm meaning to kind of marry it with that whole idea we were just talking about is like once I found homies that were like on some different stuff, it was like, bro, my drumming mind expanded. And that's like you aren't ready for it yet. Like
Right.
14-year-old Eric or how, not that Volta was more like when I was like 18 when I first listened to them. But that's what I mean. And like 18-year-old Eric wasn't ready for that experience, like kind of music yet. If I look back and like look at what I was listening to, it's like, oh yeah, well, no wonder I wasn't like trying to like vibe out on some super prog. And I listen to prog stuff, but they're like definitely acquired taste.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sold when the first time that I heard that band, but over time I acquired the taste and learned to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then he came into the band and it was just over for me. But so who's
See,
yours? Who's your guy? Not to cut you off.
oh no, you're good. Just one final point on that. That's like when I went back through their back catalog with like an actual like magnifying glass type ear was once Pridgeon pulled me in. So credit to Thomas Pridgeon for making me a fan of that band for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, one of mine, dude. It's kind of crazy. I have so many too, dude. So I'll just pick one right now out of the blue that I've been thinking about. And I watched some of his playing again lately, and I was just like, this guy is crazy. And he never gets like noticed. Gary Novak,
Who is I don't even know who that is.
dude, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude, he's like uh most famous with Chick Corea. He played with Chick.
Okay.
I think he
Maybe
Electric Band after Dave Weckl left.
okay.
but he's like that caliber of play, bro. Like, but like you're saying, I watched like some like because drummerworld.com was a thing back kind of mid
Yep.
2000s,
Oh yeah.
early 2000s, and they would always have people's names highlighted like in a more bold color of like the super legend OG type cats.
Yep.
So because it's a big ass list, you know what I mean? That's a lot of names.
Yeah, it was on the left hand side of the screen, and you
Yes,
could just
yeah.
scroll and
And some would have
scroll.
pictures and then some would have videos if you were lucky. Mostly it was just pictures at that time.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'd have like a terrible QuickTime video that you could click and it
Yep.
would load eventually. But he was one of those that was like, bro, it's I can send you the video, man. We could even watch it on this crap. Some of it. It's like a long solo and then playing. But it's him and Chick Corea because he's like one of those names in like drum magazines and like I'd always hear his name, dude. Like Gary
Yeah.
Novak. And he just looks like some like English professor, like nerdy white looking dude, like always in flannels with like glasses and a ponytail. And then he plays the drums, and you're like how Pridgeon plays, like with crazy like ferocity and like intensity.
Yes. Good
It's like,
words.
dude, holy, like this guy is mauling those drums, homie. That was
Right.
one where I always heard his name and was like, once I got it, I was like, oh yeah, bro, this guy is, woof, this guy
I've got to.
rips
I've
for the
got to
jazz
check that
fusion
out.
stuff, for sure.
Gary Novak.
Yeah. But as far as like
It.
rock drummers for like a rock band, maybe that's a better question. Because I still put Pridgeon in like he's a drum god. So we kind of covered like the drum god, but who's maybe like a more generic, I guess, introduction to like a drummer where you finally got it and it's like, oh dude, that guy's actually like way better than I ever gave him credit. Or just you finally got it, whatever. You know.
Um. Rock, meaning if we can say rock is anything that has a distorted guitar in it,
Yeah, it could be classic rock, whatever, bro. Like
can
70s,
it? Can
80s.
it be? Can it be metal?
Sure.
Um.
It doesn't matter genre.
Chris Hadler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I found out
That
that
Lamb of
like
God.
yeah, Lamb of God, and I was into Lamb of God before I was even into Chris.
Yeah.
And but I'm gonna say something that sounds like I'm ripping on the guy, but I'm not. My introduction to Chris was sort of his foot technique and how he used the long boards and would heel toe his triplets.
Hmm.
And that to me was blasphemy. That was like because I came from when I realized okay, Morgan Rose, he didn't use both feet to play his triplets. He used one foot. And I had decided at a young age I was going to do it that way. I'm not going to that if you did it any other way, you're cheating.
Yeah.
And
Like
that was
fast
just
bursts of three, the
and
like da 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 da
yeah,
da 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 da.
yep. And I
Yeah.
and I and I that was just a rule that I made up for myself out of thin air. It's not like there's a right or a wrong way.
Yeah.
That was just something that I said I'm going to do it that way because that's harder.
Oh, for
and
sure.
but when I found out that Chris Adler was playing the double bass triplets or trying to even pulling off some of the sets of fives with his feet by doing the heel toe, in my mind I was thinking, well, he's cheating, so that's not even worth looking at. And then I got, like I said, I was into Lamb of God before him, and I had finally gotten like Sacrament, that album, committed to enough memory where I felt like I could sit down and play it.
Hmm.
And up until that point, I could pretty much hear an album like that I had heard. If I had heard an album, I could pretty much sit down and play it and execute it until that guy. And I
Yeah.
realized through trying to play those parts, I was like, whoa, like he's actually pretty freaking good. Like he's better than you. So
Definitely
why are
learned
you?
something from it.
Yep. And it doesn't matter how he plays the notes.
Yeah.
Um, because even if you try to play it your way or his way, you still can't do it. And so
Yeah.
I would definitely say Chris Adler as far as rock goes. For some reason, that guy sticks out in my mind when you ask me that question, specifically about rock or anything related to that genre,
Yeah.
for sure.
Nice. I mean,
Um,
that's a solid choice, dude. because he is one of those guys. I always found interesting about him was like his cymbal choices and sizes for like metal.
Small,
Yeah, super. And he'd be like
small.
rock sections, like on a splash cymbal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super, super creative for that approach, I think. Because it's like distinctive. It's so hard. Like once it's like I mean, because metal is so vast, dude. That's like the ocean as far as how many subgenres. So to stick out inside of any genre of it is like super difficult because
Yeah.
all the production, especially like modern metal bands, like all the snares are pretty much the same. Like it takes a band to like change their whole like sound for you to like notice these days, in my opinion, as far as like seeking out new metal.
Yeah.
Like I kind of enjoy the cats I do, and then like I have homies that'll always send me song references and bands. So
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not like I'm not seeking it out, but it's like you can literally be like, oh yeah, this has to be produced by the same guy who did the yada yada yada's band.
It's
And
funny how
then
you
you
can,
go look and it is, and it's like, oh yeah, that's the same snare, dude. Of course.
yeah. It's crazy how you can like hear those things. And when you listen to enough of the a specific genre of music, you start to pick up on those types of things
Yeah.
for
It's just like
sure.
you eat enough pasta, dude, you're gonna start to know like you're gonna start to notice different stuff about it that like
Yeah.
if I just eat Italian food every other month, I'm not gonna notice what you're noticing. So it's just
Yeah.
digesting it and then it comes out.
So that makes me like when you're describing that, like it makes me wonder, like, do you okay? What do you? I'll just ask. What do you think about the blast beat?
Blast beats?
Yeah,
Oh, they're
like when you,
sick, dude. Buddy Rich has been doing them forever.
yeah, yeah, he
My
was.
boy Akira Jimbo, dude. I'm in a group chat with a bunch of my old students from AIM, dude, and I sent him just super late last night. One of the homies sent an Akira Jimbo clip from like Instagram, and I was like, dude, that reminds me of these old VHS videos I had. And I sent him a VHS like link of or a YouTube link, my bad, to the old VHS video. And I watched it again because I hadn't watched it in forever. So I had it on last night and just like watched the whole thing because it was super nostalgic. Because it's all just like independent stuff. So he's literally showing you like in the middle part, he basically gives you like 6 years of like practicing information in
Yeah,
like 10 minutes, dude, of this video. And at one point he's doing like a clave. I can't remember if he's doing like the son or the rumba, but he's keeping the clave pattern going on his left foot and he starts playing blast beats, bro. So Akira is blasting over. Like I love blast beats.
filthy.
Yeah, I think they're sick, dude. They serve a purpose. It's just like the punk beat. And that's what's so sick about like beats in general is because not the true like rock beat, because most people would play like an eighth note on top, like in the beginning stages of learning drums, more like a doots, chuts, dun, dun, chuts, dun, chuts, dun, dun, chut. But the punk beat is literally just playing quarter notes, right? Do, ga, do, ga. Because once you get it up to speed,
Yep.
unless you're like a super gnarly player, you're going to drop those eighth notes and you're only going to play every other, so quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4 up top. So
Yeah.
it's like speed creates the genre, creates the illusion of difficulty, creates the illusion of feel, insert whatever descriptive,
Yeah.
you need to there, but it like serves a purpose in my mind. So,
Yes.
because like beats are universal, like rhythm's universal. The way we talk and deliver your sentences, they're all rhythm. Like sometimes you take a longer breath and that's a rest and
Cadence and
yeah, cadence, everything.
mm-hmm.
So it's a
100%.
it's one of those to me where I try not look at it negatively. But I have heard all the arguments of like the super old school metal cats that if you walk underneath on your double bass, like to like what you were talking about, learning
Yeah.
single kick instead of default in the double, like when your hands are going,
Yes.
and then your feet would only be going like
That you're somehow
instead of all
cheating.
right foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, blasphemy to the old school cats.
Right.
But like, unless you're watching me, bro, like the studio doesn't matter. Like, yeah. So that's why it's just tomato, tomato, whatever. That's why there's
Yeah.
choices. Everybody's got an opinion, and the only one that should matter is yours. to a certain extent.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as like decisions like that, like how you're gonna play your drum, how does it sound like? That's kind of like gear and stuff. Unless you have like established relationships with companies, like I'm gonna play whatever I want. I'll play like five different cymbal companies all on one gig. I don't care what it says.
Right.
Like, what does it sound like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of being a brand.
Oh,
I'm a
I am
fan.
too.
I'm
In
a
the past, for
fanboy when it
sure.
like I have my brands and I stick
Oh, I
with
have my
them.
preferences. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as like, just for instance, like some vinyls that I cracked, I've been cracking some cymbals lately. And
Yeah.
just like to replace them was just going to be goofy, expensive. So I bought like the equivalent sounding vinyls, two vinyls, I should say, this other company for like buying one and a quarter of the vinyls I was going to have to replace. I bought three cymbals and I'm
Bet.
just going to gig on them and smash
Yeah.
them. So I don't care. Like I have, because then I can preserve all my nice vinyls for my studio that aren't going to get smashed. And it's just
Right.
like those are so thin, like you can bend them, dude. So even after a while, like I don't bash like I used to, and like they have so much feel and give. It's not like I'm intentionally like, yeah, yeah, destroying. But I must be because they're breaking. So
Well, you're those vinyls you're talking about were the didn't you use the dry ones, the HD dries and the dual? Have I seen you use dual dry too?
so the ones I'm talking about were the extra dries. Yeah. My
Yeah.
19. So
I
the
mean,
bottom's lathed and then the top's all like dark and gritty.
right.
And
It,
then I
it,
cracked the Benny Trash Crash Minel. And then I cracked a Paiste and a Sabian and a custom. Those are the five symbols lately. But I did break a China that was still within the warranty, and they were super dope about it. My buddy Josh, actually, shout out to Josh. He's been helping me on all my gear. He's super dope. The
Josh,
drum
what's
whisper.
up?
Yeah, Josh Lucas, man, the drum whisperer, man. He's awesome. I lost my train of thought giving shout outs, but
No, you got to give the shout outs.
yeah.
The reason why I asked that it was because, you're playing rock.
Yeah.
I mean, you can play anything. I know that, but the gig that you're in that I know you for, at least with mannerisms, it's a lot of rock and you're feeling it. So I think it's inevitable you're going to crack those super thin cymbals like that at some point. And I've
Yeah.
wondered watching you play, I'm like, how does he not crack them?
Oh yeah,
Because
because I still
that's
hit, dude. I still hit
yeah.
for sure.
Um,
Because
I
it
will.
is one of those things when I found those, like, man, like, and just I started to enjoy playing them a lot because of the feel and the give aspect. Not that the like, because I was a Zildjian fanboy for sure. And then I bought a pack, an HHX Groove pack in 2010 because all my cymbals were like destroyed. And I was like, the pack is the cheapest. And I was still in that band at the time. So I was like, oh yeah, bro, I need some cymbals. And I still have that's like a super dope pack. I love that. So I was a Sabian fangirl for a hot minute. And they each kind of cover their own territory for me, in my opinion. It's just like what we were just talking about right before that. You know,
Yeah,
with
as far as
everyone
the
has a
spectrum of
preference.
frequencies and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and just to me, I'll just speak for myself. Like Pisces, you can always tell when it's recorded Pisces. Like they
Yep.
sound the best to me, for sure. But Zildjians cover like the most ground for sure. And then when you get into like their higher end stuff, then you can like you're like kid in a candy store, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Like
Yeah.
they do make like the nicest symbols too,
Right.
in just a different way. Like they cover way more areas. Whereas like Paiste was more of like the inventors of a lot of like the trends that happen in symbol making.
Right.
If you don't know the history of Paiste, and yeah, it's interesting for they like Zildjian's been around for 400 years. So yeah, of course you know a lot of stuff that like these companies that are more like 100 years or less came around way later, but they like are way more innovative in my opinion. Paiste.
Right. Yeah.
Because like the sound edge hi-hats, the crimped edge hi-hats, that's Paiste.
That was
The
them.
flat
Yep.
ride, the Nova Chinas that are all crazy distorted, that's Paiste.
weren't they the first company to start using B8 alloy too?
I think they have another, yeah.
Like the 2002s, I
Yes,
believe,
the 2002s, yeah.
were the first B8
Because everything
mixture.
was the B20. Is that
I
the
think
standard
so.
for like the Uber nice? Because then mine will
Yes.
have like the MB10s and then the
Hmm.
MB20s as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like Peisty, it's just a sound like your ear. It's like even playing them, man. I had a Dark Energy 17 crash, and it's like the best way I could describe it is like a waterfall of like, and even when you thought that you like kind of throated it out, it's still there's still like another level of like sound waves that came out of that cymbal. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
the way that they like lathed it or what, but it like you could continuously pull the sound out of it depending on like how you played it.
Yeah.
Whereas like my AAX crash cymbal that's the same is like super dope for metal. But you take it out of that and it's nothing. It's like a concrete brick up there. Just it
I
has
know.
its lane and it's badass. But you take it out of that freeway, dude, and it's like get that cymbal out of here. It is so heavy. It feels like a
Yeah.
ride cymbal. That's how heavy it is, like hitting it and crashing it.
Right.
Yeah. Which is super
Yeah.
dope because like BT Bam, that drummer uses like all those same crashes and his sounds amazing. So it's all like genre. I'm not playing BT Bam or like metal. Like all the metal guys, not all, but a lot of them play Sabian because like Sabian covers the metal shit the best. Whereas like Zildjian kind of covers everything.
Yeah.
And then Meinl covers like all the artsy and like trashy sound stuff the best. And
Yeah.
while all their other cymbal lines are still super dope though. Like they each have all their own little hidden gems, dude. That's why it's like cool to not be such a brand whore. And then it's like
Yeah. That's
you're
true.
not limited to like one sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're involved with multiple types of gigs where you need a diverse palette of,
Yeah.
of sounds like that. And I
And
would say to your point about Zildjian being the best, I view them as being sort of the best all around. And that's
me too.
why, I mean, not
I
only
still
do
think
some
they're the
of my,
best, even if they don't
yeah,
sound the best to me. They're like the most like proven time, I guess. You know what I
well,
mean?
and you can put them in almost, you can put a Zildjian symbol in just about any scenario,
Yeah.
short of the Z customs and all that are clearly made for metal.
Yeah. And
But
they
I mean,
discontinued that line,
yeah, I
which
think
makes me scratch my head. They integrated it with the A's, like the
they,
brilliant A's.
I think they just brought them back though at this last NAM show, didn't they?
Oh, they did
Am
bring him
I,
back. I don't know.
I,
I'm so far out of the like I
the Zildjian
invested
one
hella money in symbols like 8 years ago, and then I just like didn't look at symbols until I
dropped out.
started
Yeah.
cracking them. Oh, I
Oh,
dropped
man.
out because I was like, no, dude, no.
People
That's
don't
a
even
deep,
like,
dark hole, bro. I
it's
can't go
funny
down.
because when I pack gear up and stuff, I'm like, there's certain things obviously I don't let people touch, but it's the symbol bag that has the most money in it, and it's the least conspicuous, most inconspicuous bag out of everything, like
Oh,
all of
right.
my gear. But I'm like, don't, that bag right there has got about $2,500 in it. Please don't touch that
Dude.
bag.
Yes.
Because people, it's heavy and it feels solid, so you'll just throw it down.
They'll just toss it.
Oh gosh.
Dude, yeah, that's funny. Like, because they are like symbols are so like even I had that thought since you and I were talking a lot more last week before I did that session. And just I had a mental image somewhere in that session where I was just like, dude, this is like 2,400 bucks of like symbols on my kit right now.
Yeah.
This
If
is
people only knew.
what young Eric dreamed of, bro, when I was playing the hell out of some ZBTs.
I heard something about Zildjian. I could be wrong about this, but it's basically their alloy, their mixture in the process is basically protected like the nuclear codes. Like no one person except the whatever family member owns it now. I think it's like the great granddaughter of, I don't know actually, so would be talking out of my butt if I tried to say it.
I
But
think it is a lady who owns it now
but
or
but
who runs it now.
she might be the only person on the face of the planet that knows the entire, like how the mixture, how they make it, how they make the metal. But
Yeah, I
other
think
than
there's
that,
only 4 people that
is
do.
that what it is?
I think there's like
It
some YouTube thumbnail I saw that, yeah, I didn't watch the video, because I've already
Yeah.
watched factory stuff of those guys.
And I'm sure that's not unique to Zildjian. I mean, it would make sense for a cymbal company to if they have proprietary alloy and mixtures like that, they would probably compartmentalize the different stages of the process and things so that no one person has
Has the
every
formula.
the formula
Well,
so that
especially for them because they're like 400 years old, bro.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And that's
And
what I
it,
do love about Zildjian, where it's hard to say who, if someone was just like, oh, if you could just get endorsed, who would you choose? Because these are all the thoughts I have when I'm like, man, as much as like getting a deal on cymbals would be dope, I don't even know. I'm so indecisive. I don't know if I would know who I'd choose
yeah.
because they all offer, but the history, the just how I was kind of like bashing on them for being around the longest in the beginning and not being like so innovative. I kind of got to put my foot in my mouth on that as far as like they've stood the test of time and like their history is so rich. It's so sick. Like when I would tell my students, like parents, they'd be like, so what kind of cymbal should I get? I'd just be like, well, dude, like Zildjian's like, because like most people know Zildjian. If you don't know anything about drums, like parent wise, that's talking to me, Pearl drums and Zildjian cymbals are like two of the things they know, dude.
Yep.
But that's why I would always be like, yo, dude, they're like 400-year-old company, and then go on the history lesson of them, and then they just be like, oh yeah, man,
Sold.
I had no idea. That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
like,
But
dude,
even
their story is sick.
that theirs is it's undeniable. But then that can segue into Sabian and how that company came about. Because wasn't it a brother that branched off? It was a Zildjian. It was a member of the Zildjian family.
Yeah,
Or
I've only internet read it, but that's like the two brothers had a falling out, and one of them got all the Zildjian factories in America and all the Zildjian name, obviously. And then the other dude got all the factories in Canada, but the original K formula.
is the
So,
one
homie,
that they
that's
don't have.
Sabian.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so like the Ks after a certain year aren't the real Zildjian Ks because now
Right.
they're the Sabian AHHs
Yeah.
and hammers.
Yeah.
But dude, they're just still like the number one and two. Like, so it's like cool.
It's
We're
apples and
battling
oranges.
brothers, but we're still the best cymbal makers, most popular in the world.
Yep. I
Because
love
like,
Sabian. I
oh, I
grew
do
up.
too.
I started with Sabian. Dad. I mean, him and I both were huge Portnoy fans. Loved Portnoy. So when I got that Pearl kit when I was 12 that I told you about in the last episode,
Yeah.
um, um, I got Sabian AAXs because that's what Mike Portnoy played, and I loved those cymbals. I mean, they did sound great, but
Oh, they're awesome.
I cracked them so fast.
Oh, for
And
sure.
granted, I was a kid. I didn't pay for the gear, so I was beating the crap out of those cymbals. I still have that the ride cymbal from that pack and the hi hats, but once the crash is cracked, um, I decided to. I thought that I was going to try different brands and that I would start first with Zildjian,
Yeah.
and then it just turned out that they stood up to my abuse. Um, and I
Silgies can handle it.
they did for me.
Yeah.
Better at least better than the Sabians, and then I just never got off Zildjian.
Nice.
Um, been with, but I say been with them. They don't even know I exist, but I've been buying them for. I've been buying them ever since then. So since probably 13 or 14.
Nice.
Um, yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
that's awesome. Like I was Sabian boy, or my bad, Zildjian boy, like all through, because all my favorite drummers played Zildjian growing up, dude. Like literally all of them.
same, same.
Like
With the
every
exception of
single,
probably Mike Portnoy, honestly.
yeah, maybe a few sprinkled in here and there. Like once I got through my first few influence, like Carter, Beaufort, hella
Yep.
Zildjian. Chad from 311 was hella Zildjian at the time. Uh Homeboy, he was just in my head. Of course I'm blanking, dude. I got super I need to categorize my drummers up there. There's too many. Abe from Deftones, my bad.
Yeah, Abe Cunningham. And
And then
he
like John
bashes
Otto
too.
from Biscuit. Oh, he
Yeah.
bashes hard. Yeah, Abe plays, dude.
Well, he used like a
That
marching snare head and like logs for sticks.
oh, thick boy, thick daddy. Big titty. And then all his cymbals were huge too, man. Same with Chad. Uh, and that's kind of an interesting story, man. To kind of talk more about cymbals in that era of my obsession. Like there wasn't a drum shop in where I grew up beyond this one, and it had like a all right selection of cymbals. But I would have to go once I found this drum shop in Salt Lake called Backbeats. Back in the day, I would drive down there and they were super dope. They would let me set up all my current cymbals that I owned and like play them against what I would potentially be buying from them.
That is cool.
Especially at that time, bro, because like the cymbal guys or the dudes at the shop in my hometown were like, it's gonna cut your arm off if you even touch the cymbal. Like, get your fingers off there. You're putting your smudges on it. You greasy little 8-year-old. You ain't
Yeah,
buying. You ain't got no money.
exactly.
Like, get out
This
of
isn't
here.
Guitar Center.
Dude, it wasn't. Definitely not. Like they did not appreciate it. So when I finally found that shop, dude, they were like, hell yeah. I was over the moon, ecstatic. But it was crazy because I obviously knew who all my dudes were, my heroes, and I wanted to get their cymbals, man. And a couple of them were pretty spot on, but then a few of them were like way far off center as far as I'm like, dude, that is not the cymbals that he like uses.
Yeah.
And that's probably my own naivety of like not realizing like, oh yeah, in the studio, they're probably not tracking with what they have on their modern drummer printout of their kit live.
How's that for an epiphany when you finally realize that that's normal? They're just yeah, trying to get you to buy cymbals.
Yeah,
I don't
talk
know.
how we were talking about faking with like the 1 foot. It's kind of like that where I was like, man, what?
Yeah, what's the
I bought
difference?
these Master Sound A custom hi-hats because that's what Chad Sexton said he uses.
Yeah.
Then I find out on the album he's using the A's and he's using rock hi-hats and he's using both the bottom hi-hats as a hi-hat pair.
Some crazy
So he's
thing. Yeah.
using both the thick daddies as the hi-hat pair. And it's like no wonder my friggin' crimped ass edge master sounds aren't sounding and A customs bright and shimmery.
Yeah.
Like there's no way they're gonna sound like those rocks, the
Oh my God.
traditional.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so stuff like that. And then like I bought super big crashes, man. And like, cause that's like Chad had all like 19s and 20s, and I had like small ass cymbals before that, like 14s and 17 or 16s. So I was like, dude, I'm gonna get like 119 and then 320s, bro. And I did. It was
Alex
awesome.
Van Halen.
Oh, dude, I did. I went in and it was so sick. Like for what it was in hindsight, I'm like, hell yeah, bro. That's awesome. Just for like who I was obsessed with. It's like, of course you would do that. You
And then you go
fucking
play a coffee shop and people are
yeah.
like,
Oh, dude, that's
it
how it was.
doesn't work. I know, I've done it, man.
Because I joined that band shortly thereafter, dude. Because I dropped like hella money when I was like 19 on cymbals. So that's like roughly like 3 years before I joined that band. So I still had that crop of cymbals as like my main. Dude, I had like a 22-inch ping ride. A.
Yep.
So sick.
Yeah. That's a
13.
legend.
Oh, it's so sick.
Yeah.
I traded it hella long ago for a Weckel Evolution ride.
That's
And
a
I
good
wish I wouldn't have.
really
Because I miss, oh dude, I miss heck yeah.
that
That,
Weckl.
that no,
That's a
that Evolution ride is sick, but like that ping ride is like, bro, that's hard to find.
it is.
Without the
Uh,
super massive bell, that's the
yeah.
only ones that replicate it is that big ass mega bell. And which is cool too, but like that's what it's like when you see an old Z, like dude, like that's the ride on all the metal shit when I was in high school for sure.
Yeah.
With that big bell.
And they'd never have made one
Yeah.
quite like it.
Yeah. Dude, but I got like a 19A custom projection crash, a 20A crash, a 20Z crash, which was super gnarly. That thing was so loud.
Yeah, I
It
bet.
might have been a 19. Maybe I got two 19s and a 20 and maybe another 20. It's a lot of symbols ago. Trying to remember. But another Zildjian symbol they discontinued that I wish they wouldn't have that Chad and John Otto used. If you like their China sounds
Mm-hmm.
on like the mid 2000s, late 90s albums, it's that classic Oriental China that had the super fat lips before they
Yes.
started doing the China trash Orientals, like their main Chinas now.
With the red writing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when they released all the Oriental line and they had the little Splash Boy and the Crash of Doom and then that China. And I had that 20, and that thing was so sick. It was so sick
Did it
because I had
overpower the mix? Was it too loud?
like it was loud, but it was such a unique like all my cymbals were huge though, so it was like
So it
perfect for
fit.
me.
It fit. Yeah,
Yeah, but like
that makes
listen to
sense.
the bands that like used it though. They're all loud ass bands.
Yeah,
So they
exactly.
aren't trying to like play it subtly. That's why, and that's funny because I was even gonna bring up the China I replaced was like a 20A because the music shop in my town just had like ghetto Chinas, dude. And so my mom bought me a China, bless her soul, and we didn't know anything about cymbals. I was just still a newbie, like maybe a few years in. So we got like this huge ass like 20-inch A China that was like it should have had rivets in it and been like a jazz China, dude, because it would have been sick for that. Like crazy sustain and like, you know, it's like
Yeah,
one of those Chinas. It's not a trashy Wuhan type, like a growl. It was like an actual like pitched instrument. Like you would play it like a cymbal, like a ride.
yeah.
So when I got that other one, dude, and it was like, oh, dude, but it wasn't trashy still though. It had like a musical note to it instead of just like a bark, growl, attack,
Yeah,
trash.
yeah. Less
Because I had a
aggressive.
dude way aggressive, like it was sick. Because I had 16 Meinl extra dry, and I gave it to Tomcat
Mhm.
as a gift for his birthday one year because I was just wasn't my vibe, dude. And he's a Meinl kid too. He's actually probably the reason I started playing Meinls because he got he started scooping them up. And I started playing them, man, and I like testing them out of his, and I was like, "Oh, dude, these are dope." And then I bought the Benny pack, and then I was a fangirl for sure,
Yeah,
and been sold ever since. But it's interesting, like the best chinas I've had, surprisingly, is Stag chinas. I still
really.
have one down there. Yeah, every time they crack, I buy a new one.
I feel that way about Wuhan's.
It's the same thing, yeah,
Yeah, so it's like the perfect sound
yeah,
combination of volume and tone,
yeah.
but man, they crack so easily.
But so do my nice stuff
That's the
for
thing.
symbols like that.
Yeah,
Because you play them a certain way. That's like why all the ones with the holes, all mine have cracked like that. Every China I've owned always cracks, dude. On the
yeah,
lip. It's
same.
always on the lip where they bow it out, and it's because they destroy the basically what's the word? The integrity of the metal when they bend it.
Yeah,
That's why Piesty's amazing because they do that Nova shit, dude, where they don't mess with the cup of it and they keep
yeah,
the bell like a normal symbol and then they F with like the lips of it on the
yeah,
outside.
yeah. That Nova's legendary.
The
That's
Danny
a
Carey China, bro.
uh,
And his
Alex.
crashes. Yeah,
Alex
Alex
used
too.
that. Yeah,
But and his crashes too. That's what I had, just smaller. I think he plays like a 19 and a 20 or an 18 and 19. I had the 17, Dark Energy signature. And my old mentor slash coworker at AIM, Craig Harbor, Master Yoda, he's endorsed by them, dude. So he got me that symbol at like 70 something percent off. It was like a $570
shoot me his
symbol.
number.
Dude, I will, bro. He's
Uh,
dope like that. He doesn't care. He's awesome. But I
China's
bought
are
that
like,
symbol for $200, dude.
yeah,
And it was like 560 list.
crazy money.
And one of my favorite symbols.
Knowing you're fixing to crack it.
Oh yeah.
You're like, I need it. I gotta have it. China's are I've always loved China's the quintessential China sound to me, and I keep going back to this guy, but he was so influential to me at an early age. Was Mike Portnoy's China's just always set in the mix perfect. Their tone was always perfect, and they were never overpowering or anything like that. And so I've always chased that China sound, and I've honestly never found it. I've never been able to, or at least I've never felt like, because of the way that I play one, I tend to
Yeah.
lay into them, and so like the Orientals too much, the A Customs too much, um, the Minals, all
What
their
it
stuff for me is just too thin, you know.
yeah.
Um,
That's when you
um,
gotta that's what I need to be a better student of all the different lines of that crap because I knew all the MB20 crap was like their metal indestructible, and then I think they pushed it to like the pure alloys. And I think the Bison's traditional brilliance are like the closest to like what you're looking for.
and I agree with that. And that cymbal, I think it's a 20, maybe it's a 19. I can't remember. That cymbal almost got me
Got you.
into buying
Yeah.
Meinl,
Yeah.
but then the cost of having to like, because again, if I am that guy, like I need for my own AC or OCD, I need all the brands to be the same.
Yeah.
There's something about it
No, that's
that
understandable.
I
I was
have.
like that for years.
It
I
would
get it
drive
for
me
sure.
nuts. But yeah, that symbol, I almost dove into Monel because of it, because I think you're right. It's probably what I need. I just don't have $3,500
To make the
in,
switch.
to invest all that. Yeah, yeah. And then the dries came out, and I love the way those sound, but they're just too thin. I just know it'd be a waste of money.
What do you rock on your kit now? I watched your video. I could see it's a K, but what size?
It's a 19-inch K,
19.
just a K,
That's a good
regular.
size, dude, and a good
Yeah.
symbol. I think that's the one Billy Reimer rocked a lot was a
Yep.
K.
And for some reason, it it sits in the mix where I want it to against all those A's and A customs on that Van Halen kit. It because I
K's
did,
are this. Oh, I love K's, man.
yeah, I do
They're
too.
so sick.
I love K's too. I use K's in the Def Leppard tribute because they're they're underneath the mix just enough, but they still can have that glassy tone to do that. And then obviously in churches and things like that, I would use the K's.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've cracked a ton of those, and they're more
Oh, same.
expensive than the A's and A, or the A customs, anyways. Definitely the A's and A customs, but
That's
they
why I got off Zildji's, boy, because I cracked everything.
really,
Oh, dude, everything. There wasn't a no, even hi-hats, dude. My A custom hi-hats, I cracked like two tops until I replaced the stupid tops with a K. And now they've lasted like that K's lasted like 10 years.
yeah,
But splashes, China boys, not a ride though. I've never cracked a
really,
nicer Zildjian ride. But definitely every crash I've ever owned of theirs has gone by the wayside for sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the nature of the beast, though. You were asking me the other day
Same.
about technique, and I was flattered that you were asking me anything about my technique, but even in regards to cracking cymbals,
Whatever.
but
Take the praise, you son of a. You can play. Uh-oh, you're glitching again, dude. So this is the part of the video where Ryan's internet.
to say that I don't crack them though, like eventually they have a lifespan. I mean, that is what it is.
Oh, you
And
glitched out again.
did I?
Yeah, you did during your whole statement there. So
I
I
don't
was
know what I.
talking through it. I was like, this is the part of the video where Ryan's internet
That's
fails.
perfect. That's perfect. Well,
So,
let's leave it. Leave
okay.
it.
Freaking internet. I love yous, but I hate yous. And that's one thing I'm never saying any of this out of like spite or like, oh man, like this company. Dude, I don't know any of those people. They're all probably great people. That's why they're companies that lasted forever. We're
Exactly.
doing like a super in-depth nerd peel back multiple layers of like years of our ears hearing a sound
Yeah.
and then hearing a new sound. That's like how I felt with my Minos when I got Bennies, bro. I literally spent like hella on the Bennies, but at the same time, I was just investing in like studio gear because I was already recording myself, but it was like kind of like a foreshadowing that I was gonna take the plunge to go back to aim for the recording program because the president of the school is hella cool, dude. Night, he offered for me to just go through since I taught there, since I was an instructor. He just let me go through the program recording. And then like once I got into recording and realized how difficult it was, I was like, oh dude, I gotta go to school because this is like, woo, this is not me, my will.
You mean from like a playing standpoint in terms of playing perfectly,
No, like
or like
recording.
just recording, setting up, and like routing and miking the kid up and getting a good tone and all that?
Yeah, so that whole side, like I
Yeah.
had the band experience and like I already went through as a student and then I had been teaching there for like 4 years by that point. So the playing I wasn't it was
You're
just all that other side. Like I had all the mics and crap, but like I didn't feel confident enough to do it on my own to where I'd always have to like hit up Lewis or my roommate that like had experience recording. So I always felt kind of like I was pigeonholing myself and like having to rely on somebody else to really feel confident in it.
yeah.
And I was like, dude, between the mics and all the crap I invested in, it was like thousands of dollars
Yeah.
at that point. So I was like, do I just buy this to post Instagram videos, or should I like learn how to utilize this? Because I did want to really know how to record myself. That was my whole goal, was just to learn how to record drums better. And I did learn a lot of other things by doing it, but my main focus was like I need to learn how to actually like record my drums
Yeah.
and like set them up and like what's good sounds and like textures and like, but that's what I mean is like my ears got tuned to like a different like frequencies, how I was talking in the other video of how like the statickiness has gone away now. And like
Yeah.
my ears perked up when I played those bennies, dude.
Yeah.
Because I bought like what else did I buy? I bought hella Zildjians at the time, like 4 new Zildjian crashes at the time too. And I like A B'd them all in some videos. I still have the videos. And it's like clear night and day. Like Zildjians are like pristine and glassy. Of course, they're making them for an emperor. Minals were like down in the dirt, bro. Like the
Yeah, but
surfs.
the grittiness,
Yeah, the grittiness.
that's
That's what I
what
mean.
makes them so
Like,
good. That's their lane.
and dirt is not a negative. That's like a
Yeah.
compliment. Like that's a sound. Like it's grit. Like it's that.
Yep.
Ooh, it's
And
like
there's a
ooh.
need for it. Obviously, they're huge now.
Yeah.
So
And
in
it
that,
and it's cool. It's like an imperfection that's like that's what makes them great, in my opinion, on hand
yeah,
hammered cymbals and like cymbals like that. I mean,
yeah,
every company has their hand hammered, and it's like that's what's dope, is like none of them sound the same.
yeah,
And that's the argument of like, oh, should I get machines? Because it's perfect every time. And it's like, well, dude, I kind of want like the inconsistency is dope just as much as the consistency.
yeah.
But it all
That
depends on your sound. I don't play any cymbals that are just machine made. So that's why like I buy all my stuff, like basically all the hand hammered stuff.
right. Yeah, because it gives it a unique quality.
It just gives it that
You can't get it
sound,
out
man.
of
You
another.
can't get it without it.
Yeah. That Benny pack, doesn't he have, is that the one that includes the sand
Yeah,
hats?
that's the sand pack.
Okay.
It's the 14 hats, which are so sick, and then an 18, oh gosh, what is it? The medium or the medium thin? It's one of, because I have both those and they're so similar. It's like an 18 medium and a medium thin, dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those two that comes with it, but it comes with like a sick unlathed bell. And then the whole bottom, like the tops are all sandblasted, and the bottom of that crash is all like the tops of the extra dry stuff. So it's
Right.
all gross and brown under there, but it's so yeah. And then the ride 20, and then the uh trash smash crash thing with the holes in it, a 16.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And they're
Okay.
all like sonically like, bro,
See, I haven't gotten a hold of that pack, and I want it in person.
I'll come
Like,
over and play them.
yes.
Oh, dude, yeah, you'll be blown away, man. Just the way you play, even like it changed like the how I played my drums immediately, and I hadn't
That's
had that
good.
in years and years.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, dude, these cymbals, like, oh man. And then I just scooped up, like, I went down the nerd hole of like drummers and like cymbals I was interested in, and they have so much content
Yeah.
that I could go and just like hours on each cymbal before I bought them. Because like the ride that I scooped up, that's probably my favorite ride of theirs, is a 22 vintage pure. And most people buy the vintage pure light ride because that's what Matt Gartzka rocked. But I just got the pure. And it's like it looks nothing what it sounds like. It's one of those symbols where like the more you play it, you just get new sounds every time.
Fall
It
deeper
keeps
in
you
love with it.
inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. None of these symbol companies or even these lines of symbols that we're talking about are the end all be all.
No.
And when you find that one that continuously inspires you like that, it's like love. It's like a connection with that thing. Because
Well,
we're
time
always,
spent with it. Oh my God.
yeah, 100%. And but we're always looking for new ways to be inspired. And I think that as artists, we go to great lengths, sometimes questionable lengths, to to be inspired, and being
Yeah.
able to get that out of a cymbal or even a drum is it's rare.
Yeah,
at least in my experience,
me too, man.
it's rare to find that thing that that just connect with. Um,
'Cause it's almost like when you're a kid and like I equate it to that once you bought so many cymbals and played for so long, like we have, dude. And like I would be like all in and out of that music around when I first moved here, man. I would be swapping cymbals all the time with that guy. He was cool, man. He was a drummer. I think his name was Jerry. He's like one of the main managers there. He'd always geek out with me on like drum stuff and like vintage Tama kits he
Shout out
had.
to Jerry.
Yeah, bro. Dude, there's so many cool guys out there that play drums. We're
Yeah.
drummers are the coolest. But he would always like give me like pretty good deals on stuff. So I would try and like I would just tell him what I needed. So like my A custom, my hi-hat issue I had, I was like, dude, I just need a like a high-end top of Zildjian. Within like a week, he was like, hey man, I just had a K top come in here, man. 13, $80. I was like, dude, I'm driving. I was at my storage unit right up the road, like 5 minutes. I was like, dude, I'm on my way. Went and bought it immediately. The hi-hat stand I still use from that guy. Like I bought so much crap from there. But
Yeah.
that's like what I mean. And it takes you as the player, you can like what you like to kind of bring full circle. Like I idolized all those guys growing up, and then I bought the cymbals and they didn't sound like what I wanted. And now I'm just like, well, I'm out $400 and now I have the cymbal. So I learned through that of like, no, dude, I'm gonna like try a ton of cymbals.
Yeah.
Like when I scooped up more vinyls from Forks, I was there for Summer NAMM 2016, and I went to Forks and like that was the no, maybe it was 2017. Well, no, when did I move in this house? 27. No, it would have had to been 2017 NAMM. My bad, because I already had my vinyls and I was gonna add more. But they just threw me in a room with like a stack of. Well, I told him what I had, the Benny pack, and he's like, "Oh, dude, I got you." Came back with like a stack of crashes, and was like, "Here you go," and put me and Lewis in a practice, like a lesson room, and was like, "Yeah, whatever. Just let me know what you decide." And we just ripped on all these symbols for like the next hour and a half, and A beat them against all mine and like what went with them. And then I walked out there with like two symbols that were like $750 for two of them, and just like happy as a kid, dude.
Yeah.
Because they immediately like it was the Benny crash, so it went like perfect. The other Benny crash,
Yeah.
and then the 20-inch Bison's dual crash ride, and that's another symbol where it's like, dude, like holy, you want to talk about hella options. And that's what was
Those.
just so sick is like the versatility to me of being like, dude, if I play it like a hardcore like metal dude, I'm gonna get like the out of it.
Yeah.
And then if I tap it, that's what I mean. It's like how you play it like actually mattered. Whereas
Yeah.
some of the other symbols is like my dynamic touch like didn't affect it as much.
Right.
Because it was so one sound.
It was gonna make its one dimensional sound.
It made it sound like that
Yeah.
ping ride, it made it sound, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was sick for what it
Yeah.
was, but like if you're trying to bash that thing, like good luck. It's gonna
Yeah.
just be a gong at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the response you get from it is gonna like literally vibrate your bones.
Oh, dude, tear your arm apart. I remember being in that band torn and like needing a crash ride sound and trying to like hit that, and I'd just be like, oh my God, this thing's killing me. I remember putting hella electrical tape all on the bottom because I had seen Chad done that with his rides a lot. He always had tape on the bottom.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was interesting
But
to
that
kill those overtones.
yeah. That was a thing. That was a thing that was big in like the 60s too. People
Dude, which I love that drum sound. I actually put hella towels on my Pacific because for Rosati's,
yeah,
my Pacific kit is like a D. It's a Pacific. What is that? LX series maple, and it's not like a nice snare drum by any means, and especially it's like 24 years old, dude. It's so old now. But I put towels on it and like gaff taped it. Probably like this thick of like towels that I cut up, dude. Only on one side, so I could still put a mic on it and still have a cross stick. So it's still like enough playable area, but literally probably like three-fourths, no, a fourth of it, my bad, is covered up by that towel. And it sounds like those old like 70s records, man. And it like made us play so different in Rosati's. And even I used it at Freedom last night as my main snare. Is
really.
that yeah, on Friday I used the Luddy I just got,
Yeah.
and it sounded so bro, you want to
I, w-
talk. That
I,
was
w-
sick.
I wish you could just Just show it to me on the screen again. It's drum
Oh, I
porn.
can go get
It's
it, dude.
oh
I do
man, that
not care, man.
that
I will go
drum.
get it. That
That's
thing
a
is
drum.
so
If I
sweet.
bought it, I would be afraid to play it just because it's a probably the most beautiful snare drum I've ever seen.
That's how I felt too. That's why it was no question.
Yeah, gotta
No, and
have it.
thank you, man. I mean,
That's
that's
that
like one of
gotta have it
those.
green is what that is.
And then that brass too. I can grab it, dude. It's just downstairs. I'll grab it.
Oh,
But it's one
good.
of those where immediately I was like, dude, I'm never not gonna want to play that drum.
Yeah,
So I'll just buy it.
yeah,
Like I was looking at similar bell brasses for the same amount but used. And then I was just like, dude, why am I gonna buy some used shit when I can literally pay and get this shipped right to my house?
yeah.
Like, and just gorgeous. I
Score.
saw it and just like gorgeous, like take my money, dude. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I know. Where's
And
my
it was in
credit
it was
card?
within the price range that was like not crazy.
Yeah, you
Because
were telling me that.
there's plenty. Oh, it was only 378,
I was
brand
surprised when
new.
you told me that.
Yeah.
That looks like a
Like
thousand
an eight
dollar
hundred
snare
dollars,
drum to
so yeah,
me.
eight
Yeah,
to 1,000 easy.
100%.
Because I love Gergo Borlai, dude, and he has a Gretsch signature snare that he came out with in the last few years. And I think it's like 4.5 or 4.75. That's like some random measurement. But I think it's brass. And he's one of my favorite drummers, dude. He's so badass.
Yeah,
But it's more along the lines of like 750 to 800 new, which is cool. But like I already have hella badass snares. So like I wasn't trying to like, I was just trying to add on a brass snare to my arsenal and a thin daddy because I only
yeah,
had thick daddies. So I needed a skinny boy
yeah.
because I just like having options, dude. It's just like the symbols. It's like I love having options because then if somebody hits me up, then I have it.
Right.
Not that I always need it. And I have my preferences, but that's where it's kind of cool to just be open minded to, like,
Well, you wouldn't buy a box of crayons with only blues.
no, yeah,
You want
variety. We all eat different foods all the time, like,
yeah, which is why we have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear.
yeah.
So
But that's what I mean. And like my thing is just like I'm not doing it for anybody else but me as far as those choices.
right.
But if I was in the position where people were like, yo, bro, we'll do this for you if you play our gear all the time, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, I'll entertain that.
Yeah.
Because it's a
Well,
relationship. Like, what am I like if I'm just promoting you, what am I getting out of it?
right.
Just the same way, what are you getting out of like promoting me as an endorser?
Yeah.
Like you aren't doing any like what do you mean? You're just gonna give me a discount on some drum set that I'm gonna have to buy anyway?
Right.
So that's why I mean it's got to make sense for both parties. And so, and I have my dream endorsements, and I feel like I don't want to just like jump from endorsement to endorsement. I'd
Yeah.
rather never be endorsed and play the shit that I want than be endorsed and have to not play what I want just to
Yeah.
say I'm endorsed.
Yeah. You see some of the most like BA drummers talk about their endorsements and the companies that they're affiliated with. And sometimes it's disheartening because you get the sense that they feel trapped by that. And then there's some that don't care and they'll just tape over a name brand for a gig that they want to jump outside their endorsement
Yeah.
for. But
Or then it turns into some whole discussion of like, oh, people are saying I'm switching camps because I'm on this drum set.
yeah,
And I get it. Duh, I'm not I
yeah,
know the business. I
yeah,
get it. It's
totally.
just a stupid reality of what it is.
It
Like, I
is.
get it.
It is.
Because you need the support. Like, all those cats on tour, it's like, hell yeah, bro. I have disasters all the time, man. I couldn't imagine not having like access to like your own symbol arsenal.
Yeah.
Like, when you're in the middle of nowhere and you're like, and that's just like relationships. I feel like a lot of those cats, it's, yeah, the gear is important, but just like the relationships are probably a lot of it.
Yeah. 100.
Because if
Yeah.
you noticed a few years back, hell of people were jumping ship from companies to companies, and then specific artists were coming out on social media saying, like, yeah, this, but you make these like relationships years ago, and then people move on, and then people that take their positions don't do what they're supposed to, and
Yeah.
then I go
You're
to a new company.
you're right though.
Yeah, because then it's like, dude, these cats have like signature shit with like companies, and that's a dream for every drummer. Is like, hell, dude, yeah, put my name on that.
Yeah.
That's so sick. And then the kickbacks from all that too, of people buying your gear and like using your name, like there's so many pluses to that.
Yeah.
So it's like if
One.
people are walking away from that, it's got to be a reason, man.
Yeah. A real
Beyond the
good one.
drums.
Yeah. And it's probably got a lot. It definitely has to do with those relationships. A lot of guys will even talk about that openly,
Yeah,
you know.
because it's a working partnership. So
Yeah.
that's why if you have people hit you up, like you gotta, I don't know. And that's the hardest part is like I have homies and just stuff will hit you up. Oh man, let's do this. And it's like, well, where's the money, man?
Yeah. Yeah. I got to make a living.
Yeah, just
So a
not that,
question.
but I record a lot for free too. So I give a lot of service too. So
That's
whatever.
because you enjoy it. But um,
Exactly.
a question that's been on the tip of my tongue since we've been talking about cymbals pretty much this whole time, because I'd be interested to know what size hi hats do you prefer?
If I had to choose end all, just 14.
Yeah, that's like a
Yeah. But I've
good.
been playing 15s lately and they're dope, bro.
That's why I asked.
Yeah,
Because
they're way dope. They just have a lot more beef to them. And I have the dual hats and it's crazy because like I went to my buddy's like studio, his storage unit lockout thing, and he was gonna maybe help me like drill some holes in them, kind of like the Zildjian quick beats
yeah,
in the bottoms to get more air because they basically have like no chick. And they're like just volume wise dynamics, they're like really quiet for being 15s. It's kind of crazy. Like
really,
they sound super dope closed and then sloshy, but any kind of foot stomp, like you no articulation. Even if you F with the little spindle thing that tilts your bottom
yeah,
hi-hat,
yeah.
like to let the air out quicker.
I've
And
never
that's why I was gonna
noticed
have
that.
him, yeah, that's why I was gonna have him drill the holes in the bottom of them to get the air out. But he like literally held up his, I think he had like the 13 fusion hats, Sabians.
Yeah,
And like his top hi hat was heavier than my bottom 15 Meinl. And he's like, well, no wonder they're quiet as
yeah. They're paper. They're
they're
pieces of paper.
paper.
It's paper
Yeah.
thin.
Dude, so I ordered a Peisty Sound Edge 15-inch off Guitar Center used like 2 nights ago because I gigged on them Friday and I was like, dude, they sound so sick, but like they're Meinls, so they're gonna crack eventually, unfortunately. And like I need the crimp, and that's like a perfect dude. Like,
To
yeah,
get the chick.
Peisty, dude,
Yeah,
the sound edges are so dope. And
yeah,
a brand new pair of 15 sound edges is like 600.
yeah.
So I was like, I'll get that and then I'll play these hi-hats and depending on how they're sick in the studio. That's why if you have a mic on them, it's like, dude, you're living the dream.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it's like as a player, the chick is gone and I love the chick, the foot stomp. I'm
Yep.
always stomping. I gotta have the time. Like
I'm the
that's a
same
whole
way.
other instrument over there, dude, that you can,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And you're
So if
taking.
that's gone and it's like, oh, where's
I'm.
that? Oh, my safety net is gone. Where's my chick
Well,
at?
you need that
Oh.
audible confirmation that the dang thing is closed.
Yeah, and your band members and like songs, dude, like War Pigs, like the playing those with no chick. It's like I'm just
Yeah.
stomping my hi-hat pedal hard as hell on no sound.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. I've got.
bought those like with the fourth shadowing of like, oh dude, I need it just gives me another option. And
Yeah.
it fills a necessary hole in my sound that is like an obvious hole to me and like the way I play.
Yeah. I had never bought Pisces until I got the Van Halen gig, or the it's not Van Halen, it's a tribute band, 84 gig.
Yeah.
But I got those Sound Edge hi-hats and then Al's,
15?
yeah, 15s.
Dude.
And they're so
Oh,
God,
dude, so you already know how are I mean
it's
amazing.
I love them. Yeah, I love 15s. I got sold on 15s. Most of my hi-hats now are 15s, but
Nice.
um
That's your
um
size of preference.
it is my size of preference. But those sound edges have a very the the sonic quality of what you're talking about, being able to articulate those chicks out of it is,
Yeah.
to me, is unmatched. The closest thing to it would have been the old mixture for the master sound, the Zildjian master sounds.
Yeah.
Those
Which like K's, A's?
A custom master
Oh, the A
sound,
customs.
A
Yeah.
custom master sounds, the 14s. I had a buddy of mine, Marshall McDuffie, uh, legendary cat around these parts, played with all the bands, great player. Shout out to Marshall. He had those, and that's what sold me on the master sounds. And by the time I had enough money to buy them, I started saving up for them. And when I actually had enough money to buy them, they had just changed the mixture.
Oh man.
And the ones I bought just didn't have that
Just
articulation.
didn't have it.
And so, and I was like, well, that's that. And I just hope that under mics they sound the way that I wanted them to sound.
Yeah.
Um, but I was never quite satisfied. And then I got those 15-inch Sound Edge hats, and it was like, that's it. That's it.
Was the
But
bomb.
but better because they were 15s.
Yeah.
And for some reason the 15s just feel better to me, for the way that I play.
No, they're awesome symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah, in high school, like when I started like got my first job at Texas Roadhouse busboying, like that whole summer, every check I got, I like bought new parts for my drums. But I was obsessed with, dude, straight up, like no other
Yeah.
bills. We'll forget
Yeah.
about it. I have like 300 extra dollars now.
Yeah. I'm
Hell
not going
yeah.
on any dates. I don't care. I'm buying cymbals.
Heck no, dude. Heck no. I was
Uh,
riding motorcycles, playing drums. I didn't care about chicks at that point. Not
that's
like
what's
that.
up. Yeah.
But yeah, I was obsessed with John Otto, as I previously said, and Akira Jimbo. And they both played 13s. So that's how the 13s got in my head. And I did play 13s for probably like 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
And they were the dopeness, dude. They were so sick. I loved 13s. And then I got that groove pack, and that's when I went back to 14s. And those groove hats are like my desert island
Yeah.
hi-hats.
That's
The
funny that you,
HHX groove
the
hats.
HHX groove hats.
Yeah. And
Those.
that's only that survived out of my pack too, since you brought up your AAX pack. The lone soldiers left, dude, is my hi-hats and the ride. I still have both of them. And they're
That's
like my
awesome.
favorite Sabians. Like if you stole all my cymbals, I would be like, take everything except those two.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
those groove hats are all that lasted, and the ride out of those two. And yeah, just that lame AAX is all I have, and the Weckel ride of Sabian.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the 13s, because that reminds me that when I bought those masters, the 14-inch master sound hats, the A custom master sound hats, I thought, you know, well, it was around that time that I discovered Chad Saliga, who's a huge influence on me, because he's so much better. He's so much better of a drummer than he was the best to me. He was the best one from Breaking Benjamin's drummers. Not to hate on the other guys, but just that guy just spoke to me.
Oh, he's a monster.
His playing, because what
That's
he
who
can
I
do,
saw him with live was him.
and he played 13s,
Mm.
and I love
Sabian, right?
Zildjian back
Okay.
then. Now he's with Peisty, but he was on Zildjian back then, and he played 13-inch master sound. He played a few different kinds, but mostly from what I remember they were master sounds. And I thought, well, maybe since you're not getting the chick you wanted out of these 14-inch master sounds, maybe if you go down in a size and get the 13-inch master sounds, you'll get that articulation that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so I played those for a little while, mostly at home. But when I would try to gig with them, when I started feeling it and getting into the music, they just weren't enough. It just like, you know how when it feels like it was basically like hitting air.
Yeah.
I
Because they're
wasn't getting
lacking the response, the
the
give
weight,
part. Yeah.
the weight and everything. And I moved away from those fairly quickly. Um, um, Chad's the freaking man though. Like his technique is so good that he can play those 13s and make them sound heavy without laying into it. And I could just never, I could never do that. And I didn't spend the time to develop it, the technique necessary to actually make those small hi-hats speak.
And it's probably not even your technique, bro, just to butt in. I
Maybe
think it's
not.
probably more just like the frequency. Because I feel exactly how you just described. That's how I felt with my 13s. Even though I loved them, it was like the frequency when I wanted them to be loud enough, like they would never give me what I wanted.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
And even playing them like they were skinnier, like you always notice when they're 13s to me. Like they
Yeah.
never felt normal.
Oh, you almost have to reach more
Yeah,
or put it closer because of the
especially with the double bass pedal.
yeah.
And it's super far away. That's what I like about 15s is you can kind of because I've always played with my double kick pedal how you would see it like in a magazine.
Yeah, me too.
Like the slave pedals inside to the left, closest to your snare basket, and then your hi-hats on the outside of your left foot from
Right.
player's perspective. And that's like Sleep Token's drummer does it on the outside to his
Oh,
left, which
does
is
he?
crazy. And that, yeah, that's how his hi-hats are like on top of his snare. Because I was like, what's he doing with the setup? The only other person I've seen do that, and they didn't even do that, they just got a remote hi-hat clutch and put their hi-hats like in a more accessible ergonomic position, was the contortionist drummer, Joey Baca.
I never knew that
Yeah,
about number two.
yeah, about two. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because his shit is like so close. I was always like, dude, why is this hi-hat? But it makes sense because he does like it's all just a feel. I don't know anything about that guy, but he looks short as hell. So if his hi-hats are super far away.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense, but I did not know that about him. Um,
Yeah, and that's like one thing where like it doesn't affect the sound. Like what that's a total feel preference.
yeah.
Like sound is king, dude.
Yep. Well, it's like Danny Carey. He's playing his hi hat
Straight in front of him.
straight in front of him and remoting over to the
Yeah.
double kick
Which
pedal.
is gnarly because like I do a bunch of like those kind of left hand sweeps underneath to my hi-hat.
Yeah.
So like all that crap would be like in front of me instead of like in playing position. I'm kind of lower than my camera, but like I'm essentially getting those sweeps by going like this with my left while my right hand's still
I've
above.
seen you doing that, and it's cool.
I think
I
I
used
stole that from Marco Miniman.
I feel like you might have, but I used to mess with that a little bit when I was young. Because you could
It's sick.
I could get some quick things out of it that I couldn't otherwise do if I didn't use that technique. But I feel like I saw that. Oh, I don't know who would have been doing that. But I saw somebody doing that, and it turned me on to it. But now it's pretty much I've worked it out of my playing. But I've
Yeah,
seen
I
you do it,
stole
and I'm
it.
like, I've done that. That's awesome. Like that you're
Oh, I
using it
stole it
and
from
killing it
somebody.
too.
I wish I knew how I stole it from. I think it was Miniman, but yeah, I think
Probably
it might have been
him.
somebody else too. I'll give credit to whoever I steal it.
Hey,
I stole it.
hey, but if we're all thieves. I mean, we're all just doing as far as like being inspired and things like that. I don't. It's hard to be original. I mean, 100% originality is basically non-existent. I feel like we're all stealing things from others and making it our own. That's part of what it is. You
Yeah,
know.
copy your heroes, man. And that's like the food you're eating, dude.
Yeah.
Like for your drumming mind and body, like that's what you're digesting is like all what you're listening to.
Yeah.
So that's what's dope of like when you get turned on to a new kind of highway of sound, like
Yeah.
whether it's symbols or music or like art or like whatever inspires you. It's kind of dope. It's like reigniting that childhood kind of like, whoa, dude, I'm like excited about drums again. When I'm literally playing drums like all week for hours and hours and play gig, I'm always playing drums. So sometimes it's like not romantic
Yeah.
anymore and it's work.
Yeah. I'm sure.
And it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go rip this album start to finish because it's fun. It's like, no, I gotta write out these PDFs and I gotta do these project and I gotta. But it's good problems. It's like what I want. I mean, I'm working, dude. That's my whole goal of moving here.
Yeah.
That's like when my life is falling apart around me down here. I'm always just like, dude, what'd you move here for, man? It
Keeps you
wasn't for
grounded.
that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
to be a working. I mean, to make money off drumming and only do drums, dude. So.
Sick, man.
And that's where if you got to have your own goals, dude, like to take it in a completely different direction as far as away
Let's
from like
go.
gear and stuff. Like just having like a clear cut goal for, and I'll be the first to admit, I lots of times in my life I haven't had the goals. And then you see it in hindsight of being like, well, yeah, no wonder I didn't like get better at what I wanted or if you're just wandering for me.
Yeah.
without a set purpose. And I'm sure it's a lot of people, so it's not like I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I do, man, and I'm special. It's like, similar life experience. We're all humans. We all have so many more similarities than we have differences.
Yeah.
And that's for sure. Like it's all little tiny idiosyncrasies that separate us, but the main parts of us are the same.
Yeah.
And
I,
so that's kind of, like the change in the way you think and view and like approach stuff is more so important than like what you're playing. Like that's what a lot of dudes say in those videos of like, dude, the rudiments are the rudiments. Like, you know,
yeah.
you just have to learn how to arrange them in like unique ways. And then like, you know, the same with music, anything. It's like just the arrangement and your ideas are going to take you farther than what you should or shouldn't do as far as like theory and all that other crap. So like everyone we look up to is like probably did stuff the wrong way at some point in their career, as far as like the guidelines are concerned.
Right. Well, I like the guys who color outside the lines.
Yeah.
And usually even a guy like that who did it, who became super successful and maybe at one point did this or that wrong. I feel like those things still reflect in their playing.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them unique. Um, so it's important, especially for young drummers, to I don't know. I've always felt like there's more than one way to skin a cat, and it goes back to playing your triplets with either 2 feet or one. Um, as long as you're creating the sound that you want, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're breaking bones to do it, then yeah, you've got a problem, and you might want to reassess how you're approaching the kit. But
Yeah.
ultimately, especially because everybody's different, it's coming down to our anatomy and all that. Like if it inspires you to keep playing, then it's not wrong. That's
No,
my take on it. And yeah.
because it's just all so subjective, dude. And that just like kind of, I went space cadet and forgot my whole point on that, but you brought me back around. And that's why we're on the carriage ride together, sir.
No, I've
But like
lost.
without goals, though, is what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
And that just like you just proved my point of like, when you're just floating through and not like a clear, concise idea that you're trying to like actually materialize.
Right.
Because technique and all this, dude, it's like who I'm not trying to enter some competition of I have the best technique or I made the best song or I made the best drums. It's like, dude, if that was the case, I would didn't do shit because everybody's already done so many great,
Yeah.
all the guys we're talking about and look up to. It's like, bro, like all their go listen to their records and yeah, man, like if that's the case, no one would do anything if you have that viewpoint. It's like all that shit should inspire and light the fire, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but
And
that's
that's
like when I'm just learning sets and like teaching and not like practicing shit that's like fulfilling to me. I noticed that where it's like, dude, you don't even have like your own like drum goals right now. You need to like reassess real quick and like, all right, you still need to work on this.
yeah.
Or I'll be listening to whatever and be inspired by like the left tom filling crap. So like how you're saying, like a lot of these cats will do all that single pedal crap and then plays like double pedal, but between a floor tom and
Yeah.
a kick pedal.
Yeah, it's the
And then
thing
it's
now.
like, dude, that's crazy as shit to separate your hand and still do the backbeat and still ride on it takes a lot of practice because you're separate, like you're basically playing all your rudiments between your right foot and your weak hand
Yeah.
while
It,
keeping time on top.
on top,
And then
maintaining
that
that
all
backbeat.
changes as if you're hitting a floor tom right next to the snare or right after it. And then
Yeah.
do I have to play two bass drums to get out of it or two into? Yeah. So you just create all these other exercises through just like, oh, I'm going to try and do left foot or left floor tom filler fills. And then you realize how difficult it is to make it to make
Yeah,
it be seamless
yeah.
and like not stumble all over yourself playing
Yeah.
these fills.
Yeah. And
So
even
like
me,
there's always something to do. So if you realize that, then it's easy to stay motivated. And that's where Benny Greb has the best advice to no matter your skill level, record yourself playing and listen
oh yeah.
back because you're always showing yourself your progress, and then you don't need motivation because you can see it in real time that you're progressing.
Yeah, I think I saw him. I saw a clip of him talking about that, and
Yeah, he's
the
like
way he
Yoda, bro.
articulated it made so much. Yeah, he's definitely. But you're right, and I've been guilty of being that nomad, so to speak, or that directionless drummer, where um, I was just always like a kid in a candy store. I just wanted to learn everything, but if I wasn't into it at the moment, then I just didn't. Like I've started and stopped so many projects where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my feet to where I can play above 200 BPM easily.
Yeah.
Like just doing that, and then I'll do the work. I'll put the work in. And I'll get almost there, and then it's like, oh crap! But what about these gospel chops over here, like that I keep hearing about? And I'll bail on practicing the original thing and to go over there and do. And I just jump all around,
Yeah.
and I think in some ways it's hurt my progression, but as a drummer, but at the same time, that's just how I'm made, and that has kept that fire to play alive. Constantly having something new to chew on, so to speak.
Yeah.
And in a roundabout way, I think it's helped me become a diverse player. I've always said I'm not a master of any genre or any particular, like I'm a jack of all trades, not a master of any. But that's how I've gotten gigs too, is that
Yeah.
I can sit down in most settings and at least fake it, make the audience believe that I'm supposed to be there. For
No, man.
the
And I don't think it's like anything like that, just to kind of put the opposite spin on it. Because it's back to like those genre, like, dude, you listen to everything.
Yeah,
So of course you don't just want to play one thing,
right.
you know. You're trying to be like all these cats in music that you listen to. So if you have like a wide palette
Mm-hmm.
of sounds,
Yeah,
of course it's like, well, dude, yeah, like rock's still my shit. Like I'm still like a rock drummer if you had to pigeonhole me. Like
yeah,
that's my lane for sure, where I don't even have to think. It's like, oh, bro, hell yeah, let's go.
yeah,
Rock drumming.
yeah.
Let's I can be big and in your face. Let's go. This is awesome. But that's not all I listen to. That's probably like the least, depending on, it's all ebb and flow of like what I'm inspired by in the moment.
Right.
But like it's I've consumed so many hours of like EDM, and like that's where I actually practiced that under the hi-hat thing, was to get that kind of the dance beats where it's not continuous
Yeah,
hi-hats like but more like broken up like the and I would notice it was sick because then you could get like that left on that last so basically like that last hit before the snare drum. And then if you get used to the sweep and kind of twitch your arm back and flick it back, you can get the with your
yeah,
left hand. So
yeah,
then you keep the pulse of the eighth notes just on your right hand only. So then it's like you're just playing like a four on the floor. But you train old lefty to
yeah.
dude, but it's like
And
only
it
through
even
playing dance music was the only way I was ever going to do that though.
really,
I
yeah,
mean, I played rock
yeah,
for years before I ever learned, you know what I mean?
yeah. And it even creates a different feel.
Oh,
You know,
totally.
you
Then
know,
one hand. It's so
yeah,
different
completely
because you
different
get the
feel.
eighth notes to crack way hard. Like it's like an eighth note groove. And then that's why it's sick because it's an EDM. Because like that's always programmed shit. So like the hi-hat track that's the main pulse is always going to be higher.
Yeah,
And then it's kind of just so it's like you're being super dynamic without even trying to be like dynamic with
yeah,
it. Or you can play the same volume and make them all like crushing,
yeah,
which is harder to do on right hand only because you're gonna like burn your arm out quicker to get them
yeah,
all like forceful hits every time.
yeah.
Dude, and then
That's
like doing like cool crap of right hand on the ride, doing the eighth notes, and then doing that with your left hand.
yeah.
Dude, and
That's
then it was
so
like
much
all these
fun.
other
That
areas where it was
opens
like I
up
had fun. Yeah.
that opens up a whole different thing when you start doing that. That's one of my
It,
favorite things to do is alternating and messing with that. I love
mm-hmm.
that.
Me too. And that's like orchestration is what the term would be that my teacher coined it as. And it's literally like how I was saying, and how you can take like one simple sticking and then it's just like voicings, dude.
Yeah.
It's like a chord, all those different voicings and the way you can change a chord, or like a major seven. It's like flat it now, it's or diminished minor, and then okay, minor sounds all spooky and sad, or and then this one sounds happy. Majors always sound happy. So like you start to feel that change in like tone, and now it's beat related, but it's like the same kind of effect it has on your brain where it's like, oh, dude, try and play like a reggae groove when all I've played is rock. Like, dude, that's so difficult. Like, what are you talking about? The bass drums with the friggin' snare click, rim click on two and four,
Like
and
what?
the kick's gone on one and three always. And all my
Yeah.
fills don't have the downbeat bass drum on one with the cymbal. It's all like setup fills. It's all like anticipatory fills in that
Yeah.
sense. So like jazz, when it's all like a lot of upbeat hits with like big band charts in high school.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't ever like on a downbeat. So if you don't feel that, and that's why it's like jazz opened up all that triplets to me. Like that's where I learned all how to play triplets was all jazz. Because like I wasn't like a blues shuffle type cat. Like I do love 12/8, like I love those grooves, like 6/8, 12/8 grooves, however you hear it.
Me too.
Oh, those are like my favorite. Like I'll listen to albums and then usually like the song in six or with that type of feel is like one of my favorites generally
Yeah.
off of records because it feels amazing, dude. It's like a
Yeah.
natural sway.
6/8
But that's
hits
what I
me.
mean is like unless you get exposed, and then where do you learn all your vocabulary with that? It's like blues, jazz, like rock does play swing fills, but it's like most if we were just talking extreme black and whites, like
Yeah.
most popular music is like straight compared
Yeah.
to swing.
Definitely straight ahead. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
where that came in for me
And
because
that's a
I
super black and white.
yeah.
Yeah.
6/8 was one of those that I almost think that I naturally felt 6 and 9/8
Dude, yeah, because you swing.
the time I was a
That's
kid, and
like
that's
more
what I'm saying.
natural
I wonder where that came from. I know
because it's like dance.
some of my first, actually, my first gigs were with playing with my grandfather at like
Well, that's so cool.
the senior citizen center, and at his class reunions and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
That's still dope though.
oh yeah,
I
those
didn't
were.
get a gig with my grandpa. I would have loved that. That's awesome,
But I
man.
wonder if that's where that came from for me because I just remember being in band class and it not that this made me anything great or anything, but for some reason I was the one that didn't struggle with 6/8. Everyone else seemed to struggle with it, and I think it's because I had learned those beats before I knew how to actually read music, and the other kids around me were learning beats as they learned how to read music. So when we switched from 4/4 and then went to 6/8, then they had more things to conceptualize,
Yeah.
before they could grasp the beat itself.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've taught hella students, so I think most people struggle with 6/8 compared, and just the idea of like triplets
yeah,
versus straight rhythms.
yeah. Maybe
So that's
because
cool that it made sense to you instead of the opposite. I mean, and
I
I know you could still do straight, but it's cool that it clicked like more immediately for
for
you
some reason, yeah, and I've always wondered that. Like, I don't know where that came from.
because of
There
like
has to
all the
be a
music you were
reason.
listening to.
It had to be that
Oh,
because
dude, there's no other way. I mean, that's like, yeah, that's what you grew. You understood the language, man. Like that's what you are used to hearing.
yeah,
It's just like if you grew up with like bilingual parents,
yeah, it's just natural to be able to
like
be
you can just
bilingual. You
decide,
just
yeah.
are. Yeah.
Or it's
Well,
much easier to work. Like it's much easier to become bilingual if you're around the language like all the time like that,
yeah,
compared to
yeah.
someone like you or I that doesn't, we speak English all the time. So,
That makes
but that's
sense.
what I mean. Like you grew up before you could like understand those are words that you're adding into your drummer vocabulary.
Right.
And like the way, and that's the coolest way to look at it is like it's a whole language because it is. And like the more words you know, it doesn't make you like beyond, it just makes you be able to express yourself better.
Yeah.
Like you can articulate your ideas to the fullest extent rather than like being only able to say yes, no your whole life.
Limited. Yeah, limited. You're not
Yeah.
limited by the language. You
You
can
could still
actually
get through. Yeah. And that's what
manipulate
it
it.
is. It's like you don't need to apply it, but at least you know what the heck's going on within
Yeah.
the context of the rules of what's presented.
Right.
Because that's all like a time signature is. Like people get so effed up by time signatures,
Yeah.
myself included. My whole life, I always knew what it meant. Like I could explain like the words, the sound of the words of the definition, but I still was like, I don't know like what. I know I got to count to four in this one,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
didn't like get it until I went to like AIM and my teacher Craig explained it like in the most logical way.
Yeah. I vividly remember that in band class being like, I
It's
didn't know.
mystical.
I didn't
It's
know what
out
six
there.
eight was. I didn't know what 6/8 was. I didn't. I'd
You
never
knew to
heard.
count to six, but
I
that was
had
it.
never heard somebody say those like 6/8. I'd never. And so it was like when it was explained to me by my band teacher, I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Like that's what that is. Like
Yeah.
I was able to ascribe a word, a definition to the thing that I was doing,
Yeah.
which helped it, reinforce the idea or like the ability to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but
Dude, and that's like once you understand kind of the code, for lack of a better, like how it's all values, dude. So just like money, it all has a value. So that's all that's meaning. It's like the top number, it doesn't matter what it is. Like that's just what you're going to count to. It's the number of beats within a measure.
yeah,
Like 2 4, you're going to count to two every damn time.
yeah,
3 4, you're going to count to, like the top number is what you count to. So there's half of your information and guideline already. Okay, badass. So 6 8, 6. But the
right,
bottom number is the value you give the note. So that's where everybody kind of gets confused, myself included, where it's like more mystical of like what the value I give them. What do you mean? It's more gray. But what do you
right,
associate with the four in music your whole life? Quarter notes.
yeah,
So on the bottom number, if it's a four, you're going to give the value of a quarter note to every single beat,
right,
meaning now there's four quarter notes to eat up a whole measure. It's going to take 4 beats to start again.
right,
So that's all 6 8 means is we're going to apply a faster value note, an eighth note. So now every note you read is going to look like an eighth note because now an eighth note is equal to one number
right,
in that system.
yeah,
So it fucks with your head because you read eighth notes how you're used to hearing quarter notes, though. Because if you count quarter notes like 1 2 3 4, and that's how you always counted, when you switch the speed, that's not necessarily coming into effect or into like a factor of a 12-year-old kid. Like you're just having to change the number you count to, right? Like 1 2 3 4 5 6. But what you subconsciously don't realize is you just like sped up the value of those notes because now you're playing them like eighth notes. And you have to read them like eighth notes, but they're going to sound like quarter notes to you
right,
because you're used to counting quarter notes where they eat up a whole number, right? 1 2 3 4 1 2.
yeah,
So that's what's kind of gnarly is when you change that bottom number is now like you're used to reading a faster value, but you now your ears are hearing it like you're a quarter note. So like in high school band and middle school band, that's literally how I taught myself how to like read and replicate like the sounds I was hearing to like what I was reading. So like in cut time, like everything slows down. So then quarter notes become sounding like eighth notes, and your eighth notes sound like 16th notes. So it's like, dude, it's fucked up. Like the way you have to switch your brain of like, okay, now though instead of being like 1 2 3 and 4 and now that's like 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and a. Even though I'm still reading quarter notes and eighth notes on the page, the time signature is telling me, bro, how you're used to reading those is not how you're reading it now.
right,
Now, cut time means 2/2, so 2 half notes every measure, and a half note is equal to 1 beat. So a half note eats up 2 quarter notes, right? So how
uh,
many notes does a quarter note eat up? 2 eighth notes, and that's why your quarter notes are going to feel like eighth notes now because the time
Erickson teacher
signatures,
mode,
dude.
Erickson teacher mode,
I know it
breaking
sounds like
breaking
Greek, dude, but
bread.
it's what it'll soak in eventually. It's just a way to like trick your brain. Like the sound is going to be the same, but like the way you have to read it is different.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I equate it to like English, like there, or words that have the same sound but hella different meanings and spellings. There. Context. How do I say it? It's all everything.
right.
Like the use of the word is so important. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like that, man, where it's like once you figure out the use for the sound, then you got it.
yeah,
But you just don't know the use for what you're reading yet. It's a whole damn language. So that's why it is super overwhelming, but like you can already speak it. So now it's just putting the time and effort towards like learning how to read and write it. And if you
yeah.
never write and if you never transcribe, that's where you're going to learn the most is writing shit out, no
Well, I was
matter how
gonna.
difficult it is.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I think that my lack of knowledge in that regard has stunted my ability to be creative, because ultimately, where I'm pulling from in terms of creativity is from other things that I've heard,
Yeah.
and trying to build and expand on those ideas that somebody's already put out there. But if I'm stumped or I'm having quote unquote writer's block, I can't fall back on everything that you just said. That to me is like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't get it. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, and I
And so,
wouldn't expect you to either. It's so much information, dude, and it's just like a bunch of information dump, you know. Like if I showed you A, B context of it, then you would totally get it, dude. Because
right.
I'm just giving you like words without like a visual or an audio
And I
reference.
need that. That's how I learned
Well, dude, that's the
in the
dope
first
part
place.
about like using all these tools to your advantage. And that's just to like add to your point of like, not that it stifled you or anything, but
No,
it's
it's
just
something I
another tool.
recognize.
It's just another tool.
Exactly. It's a tool that it would be like,
If
it
you
would be
need it,
like,
then you got it. If you don't, fuck, who
yeah, it
cares?
would be
You
like,
don't use
I'm
it.
a mechanic who only uses wrenches. I don't use sockets. I don't use
Exactly.
socket wrenches. I just use standard wrenches. And
Yeah.
that's
You
really
can still
what it
fix
comes down
stuff,
to. I can
but
still fix things, but
but if
that's
it's
what
like
it
your
comes
own
down to.
desire, you know, it's not like you have anybody else being like, "Oh, Ryan, you need to go work on your JoJo Mayer freehand technique, bro," because you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So that's what I mean to kind of tie it in with everything we've been talking about on this, like goals. Like you
yeah.
don't need to learn none of that shit if you're not going to use it. What's the point? That's like learning thesaurus. You're learning all these new words, but you use all your same language. Like, what's the point, dude?
Right. But
Because your time is very limited. Not that you wouldn't get benefits in the long run, but I'm saying in our reality where time is like more important than anything. I
yeah,
value my time the most.
yeah.
Honestly, the older I get, it's like, hell yeah, my time is like, I'll turn down gigs if I, so that's what I mean. And if you aren't gonna like, if you don't have an application for it, not only is it like for your goal, not very useful, but just for like your own use of time.
Yeah.
Like if you aren't gonna implement it into your playing, then like, what's the point? And that's like I love all the Latin shit, but it's like I have no use to like struggle through being able to solo over like a 3-2 clave on my left foot.
Yeah, you
Like it
could
would be so
probably
sick
do
to be
it
able to do.
eventually. Yeah, but
Oh,
it's like,
eventually. And it's like maybe that's on me for not dedicating enough time to it, but it's like one of those things where I have a realistic approach with like my goal because I just wasted so much time like not practicing what I wanted before
right.
I knew how to teach myself the most efficient way.
Yeah.
And now that I do, it's like, bitch, if I want to learn something, I know how to learn it.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's either do I have the time or not.
Right.
So that's why like it's a huge push and pull of like, oh, if only, but
Work life
time.
balance, man.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then you get into everything of like time management and like there's so many factors
yeah.
for practicing.
Yeah, that ship has almost sailed for me. I mean, I have other goals as a drummer than to learn how to do or to learn every little nuance about the notation side of it.
Right?
I learned a lot. I learned enough of the basics in middle school
Yeah.
to understand the concepts and things, but I've forgotten more than I know nowadays. And it just doesn't apply. But there's been so many times that I wish I could chart something out or whatever and be able to notate it just to learn songs on the fly. Because I was telling you yesterday, I love those shotgun gigs where a guy calls you and they're like, "Hey, I don't know who the band is, I don't know their set list, but the gig's
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow and their drummer just quit. Can you play?"
Yeah.
I love taking those gigs.
They're fun, dude.
Yeah, but there have been times when I've taken those gigs and I get that set list and I'm like, oh crap. Like
Yeah.
I don't know some of this stuff and I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to like I don't
I
have
gotta
enough
cram.
time. I don't have enough time to loop the songs enough to commit it to memory. So if I could write it down, and my charts, man, holy cow, like nobody, there's no way anybody could like I am the only one that knows my chart. Like because
The
I put
roadmap. Yeah.
I put crazy keywords in just to trigger certain things in my head that this thing is coming up, or
And it
you know
works
what I
for
mean?
you, bro. And that's awesome. And that's all you need.
Yeah,
Unless you're trying to like share it with other people and like,
right.
even then, if they know your code, then that's fine. You
Yeah,
got
but
it.
the thing is,
But
I know I'm cheating, and that's like that's violating my personal code of ethics. You know, it's like
oh, I feel you, dude. We'll work on it. I'll help you.
that'd be
It's
tight,
easier
man. I
than you
would love
think,
to.
dude.
I would
It's
love
way
to.
easier than you think.
Yeah,
But as far as just to tell you the importance in my life of that, like that non-drum related, like drum kit focus classes from college, those are like the two most important, what you just said, charting class and rhythm dictation.
yeah,
And rhythm dictation was hard as hell, dude. Where's some sticks at? I guess I can clap it. But my teacher would just turn on a metronome, dude, and then he would clap out just random rhythms and make you write them out. He'd tell you the time signature and everything, and then he'd be like, "All right, y'all." He's badass from Mississippi, man. I love him, man.
I
So
love him
cool.
already.
Oh
Sounds like
yeah,
my kind of people.
dude, Craig Harbor, man. He's a saint among men. He's so good.
Nice.
He's a, yeah, definitely like one of the coolest like influences for me, drumming wise. But yeah, he would just turn on this mat, dude, and like just be like, all right, y'all, here we go. 2/4, y'all. Okay. Boom. Like the mat is there. Boom.
Yeah,
Okay, write that shit out. And that would be the whole class, dude, for like 11 weeks straight. It was so hard.
yeah, I
And
bet.
and in the charting class, he made us, I think it was one of those two classes for like the midterm or the final. He made us play some Dwayne Perry or made us dictate some Dwayne Perry crazy song. He's the drummer for Jethro Tull. And he was a trip, dude, the way that guy played drums, because like he never played contrasting rhythms to the other instruments. So like if the whole band was playing 16th notes, he wouldn't play anything other than like 16th notes.
Yeah,
Like he would never differentiate, which is a
right.
sick way to like approach composition.
Yeah,
But then charting, like that's more rhythm dictation crap where you're listening and then having to write it out into the language. And that's so hard, dude. But you learn like it's amazing.
yeah.
Because you put the method to like the madness to the actual method. It's like, okay, now I see like you do it. I was the same way with like notes in high school. I got so much more out of stuff when I wrote notes myself
Yeah,
rather than like reading it off a PDF or something.
right.
You retain the information
Yeah,
way more. And then
yeah. I didn't.
charting was sick because he showed us like three methods where you do like verbatim, like note for note, and that's like hella time consuming. And that would be like if you want to do a drum cover like perfect, like note for note, like perfect. Like, but then there's shorthand, which is more kind of, you know, you're just getting like more, maybe like eight. Like if it, say that it's just like a normal pop song, 8 bar verse, 8 bar chorus, 8 bar verse, 8 bar chorus, a bridge, double chorus, end. Like you would literally just put like a line here and a line here, create a barrier, and then put like an eight verse. And you, if you needed like some kind of hint, or maybe there's like a crash out or something at the very last, like he had all these little kind of tools or tricks for you to like give yourself little landmarks throughout your chart.
Yeah,
But like your chart is super clean. So then it's only like two lines of like 8, 8, 8, 8, 16, and then it's fucking over. And there's another way you could do it the same way. And then if it had like more complicated beats, you could put like an A1, and it's this beat, and you write it out below the numbers like that. And then you're like, okay, these 8 bars, I have to play this specific beat. So then your chart is still like small and you still have all the information on one page, but it's not like you're counting like individual measure by measure bars, because then your chart's going to be like 6 pages long. And for me in corporate bands, dude, I had a binder I would travel around with like seriously like that thick, bro, full of charts.
yeah,
It was insane. because I played for like two or three different bands, that I had all the charts for everything. So it's like 90 some damn songs in this chart book.
Yeah.
But it was so dope because like it was like some songs I thought were sick, but like the majority of that I would never, you wouldn't find me listening to that shit unless I'm like at a TJ
Yeah.
Maxx or something and it's in the
in
background.
in an elevator.
Not by choice, son. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm a victim of this predicament. But like but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like one of those where it was so sick at a gig because or even just like chart like I never have to think about this song again until I play it next. And then I pull out my chart. Oh yeah, there's that weird 9 bar verse. Oh shit. Good thing I have this chart. Because I would have forgot that.
Yeah.
It's just like a roadmap at that point, and then you don't rely on it. It's just like a reminder. And you have so much crap going in your head, dude. I'm not gonna remember this Katy Perry firework has this dropout before or whatever the song. It's just super sick.